So I thought I'd make a video for you and show you how to start and finish threads. Now I have covered this in other videos, but I just thought we'd make one that stands alone because I've had a few questions about it. So this applies only to a fabric like this, not to a counted fabric, that's a different method, but just for your normal embroidery, freestyle embroidery projects. Try to avoid starting with a knot on the back of your work because you're relying on the knot to stay knotted for one thing, and it could come undone and it makes the back a little bit bulky. So this method is a really neat method for starting and finishing, and you don't have to keep turning your frame over. You can do everything from the top. So we're going to create what's called a waist knot because the knot will be cut off later. So if I'm going to work this section down here and I've got a new thread, I'm going to start on the top. Now that goes against what's quite natural. It's natural to come up from the back, but start from the top and you can see exactly what's happening. So I want to start stitching down here, and I'm going to stitch up here and finish at the top here. So I'm going to put my needle down on one of these lines here. Now I've got a knot in the end of it. This knot will get cut off, so it doesn't matter how you make a knot. There's lots of different ways, just make a knot in the end. This will get cut off, so don't worry what that looks like. So take the needle down on one of the lines. This is because it can make a mark in the fabric. So if I bring my needle up somewhere in this empty space here, depending on what fibre and fabric you use, the threads can leave little threads behind and can mark the fabric. So if you do it on a line, you know that won't happen. Right, so we want to start stitching down here. So what I'm going to do is put two little tiny starting stitches, and this will hold the end of the thread in place. So I'm coming up again on the line. This will get covered as I stitch over it, so work where you're going to stitch over. So straight up, straight back down, very close by. You can just see a small gap there. Just make a little stab stitch. Pull that down quite tight. Do another one very close by. The closer the stitches are, the more secure the end of the thread. So two small stitches like that, and then we're going to start stitching. So just as you would normally, ignore the two little stitches, just stitch straight over those. Get there and just stitch wherever you need to put your needle. And we're covering up those two small stitches. I haven't cut my knot off yet. I'm just going to do some stitching first. It's good just to get the stitches going. So the two starting stitches are now covered by my stitching, so the thread's held by the stitches and by the stitching over the top, so that's pretty secure now. It's only a short bit, so I'll just stitch all the way to the top. Right, so I got to the end. Now I need to finish my thread off. Now there's a couple of ways of doing this, depending on what you're stitching really. So I'm at the end of this green stem here, and I've got quite a lot of space around it. So what I can do is I can turn the frame over and I can just weave the needle under a few of these stitches on the back and forth, and that just secures the end of the thread. Or to do it from the top, I can just jump over to this stem here, and that's not too far on the back to jump. I wouldn't come up away from it and finish it all the way over here, but that's okay, that distance on the back's okay. And do your two little stitches again to finish off, so nice and close together. Two little stab stitches, 1, 2, and then because we're starting and finishing on the top, just bring it back to the top as if you were doing a third one, and then you can cut that thread off. That is enough to secure that end of the thread, I promise it is. So when you start this one, then we would stitch over this and finish this one off. So it's got kind of two stages, if you like, to hold it in place. So the two little stitches and it gets stitched over on the top. And once you've finished that off, then you can just take your waist knot that you started with, pull it up, You don't want to cut your fabric at this stage, that would be awful. Just pull it up, snip it off so it's nice and close. So you've done everything from the top. There's nothing surprising going on the back, hopefully. And you've got a nice neat start and finish. And I'll just flip that over and show you what it looks like on the back. You can see my little starting stitches on the front here. And on the back it should be nice and neat and tidy. So I'll just flip that over and you can have a look at that now. Just want to show you what that looks like on the back if you use this starting and finishing method. So it's all nice and flat. There's no knots on the back, for one thing, and no loops and no surprises. Everything's neatly started and finished, and it's not about the back being as neat as the front. It shouldn't look like the front, but it is about everything being secure and finished so it doesn't all come undone. So nice and neat and tidy, no knots on the back, and nice and safe and tidy.